Hi everyone, this is Ellie Mae with Silhouette Secrets Plus, and today I'm going to show you a little quick technique that you can do for shaping paper flowers. First thing is you're going to gather your supplies, and then you're going to set this up in your Silhouette Studio software or for your cutting machine, and you're going to cut the pieces out. And then you can have all your pieces ready to go.
Okay, so I'm going to show how I add just a little bit of dimension and texture to this daisy file. I'm going to open, this is a shaping kit by Tim Holtz and Sizzix, and I just got it on Amazon. The link will be down in the description. So you're going to want, it comes with a little foam pad. You're going to want to use that. And I'm going to move some of my pieces out. This is the technique that I'm sharing, is how to get some of that dimension into your paper flowers so it gives them a little bit more realistic look. So we're going to be doing that. And I'm going to just take these out. And then I'm going to set aside the pieces and parts that I don't need for the time being. The first thing I'm going to start with is this daisy file. So I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to be working on the back side of this. I'm going to take the stylus embossing tip portion of the tool and I'm going to pull a line into the middle of the leaf and then a line around the outer edges. And as you do this, you're going to notice that it curls up. You're going to do this all the way around your flower. And I'm going to speed up the video so you don't have to watch in real time, but you're going to do this to both of your flower pieces on the back side. And then once both your flowers are done, you're going to see this is the back side. I've embossed on the back. It's real quick. You don't have to be perfectly accurate with that. I'm going to flip them over on the right side, and then I'm going to use the large embossing ball, and I'm just going to make a circle. And this is pretty neat that you can make your flower spin around, I think. So I'm just going to start to spin it. And it's going to form up the shape of your flower. So it'll be easier to see in real life, but there's some texture there, like the veining that is in a real flower. The next one we're going to work with is the leaves. And I'm going to take this sponge here. If you want to, you can ink the edges of your card pieces to give it a little bit more dimension. So I have, really just depends on the color of your paper. I have this ink that I grabbed, and I'm really just there's no perfect method to this. Just going to grab some ink, maybe blot it off. This is a Teflon sheet, so it'll take off some of it and I can wash it off. I'll link that in the description too. A Teflon sheet is a really nice thing to have in your crafting supplies. So this is going to be my top side. You could do both sides actually if you're going to have it be a 3D object, because leaves are different shades of colors. They're not all one color. This is complete personal preference. You don't have to do this, but it can add a little bit more dimension to your project. So I'm going to go ahead and take this. Now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to be working on the back side of this again as well. And then I'm just going to create some veining. So I'm just going to start from the bottom, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but if you look at a real life leaf, you're going to see that it has veins that run up so this is the front, and this is your back side. I'm embossing on the back side. And again, it's just really quick. Doesn't have to be a perfect, accurate line. Just whatever helps to create a little bit of dimension. And then I'm going to take my Leah Griffith, it's a paper curler. You could also use a bone folder, and I'm just going to kind of curl some of these leaves up and down and give it a little bit of some flair. And remember, you have all these little different tips. I really like this one because you can get down in the corners. It's also linked in the description. And there's no right or wrong way on how you do this. Just practice and play, and everyone is different. Flowers are not perfect in nature. Okay, so we have our leaves. We're going to do similar to the centers. You could ink those. I'm not sure my ink color is going to show, but it might. Even a lighter color sometimes will show up on a, just gives it a little bit more dimension. So I'm just going to kind of sponge that on. I'm using the opposite side of my sponge. And just gives it a little bit more texture rather than the flat color. And these ones, if you get them out of order, you kind of want them to be the smaller sizes, and then it gets larger as you go. So I'm just lining them up. I can tell more by the size of the centers than I can tell about anything else. The fringe is very much the same size. Once you have it inked, you can go ahead and once you've arranged those, move those off. And then we're going to pull in our foam pad again. And I'm just going to start here with the largest, and you can start anywhere you want really. I'm going to do the same technique. Now you can do a couple different things here. You could curl the edges first, and every flower is going to be a little bit different. So you can curl those edges. I'll go ahead and curl the edges on mine. And I'm just taking it between my thumb and my tool. You don't want to rip it, but you can be a little bit firm with it depending on your paper. And this is, again, Michael's Recollections cardstock. I've linked that below as well. Just, again, adding a little bit of dimension and look for your flower. Once those are all done, you can go ahead and do the same thing with your embossing tool to each piece. And I will speed this up here as I'm doing it so you can see. Go faster. Now, once you have all your pieces, you can go ahead and start your assembly. So I'm going to take my tools, put them aside. I have this pop-out card topper, pop-out topper card that I've created, and I'll throw a link in the description below on how I created this. But we're going to start adding the 3D dimension to this. So this part here, depending just on your file, you can choose to add your leaves first, or you can add your daisy, first layer of your daisy. It's going to be your largest layer. We're going to take some of this glue here, and you also want to account for dry time. So keep that in mind when you're applying things. Stuff's going to move if you don't give it adequate time to dry. And then once I know where my first layer is, I can kind of tuck these up underneath. Give it a little bit of glue. Just on one side, so I can bring it up underneath. And I'm gonna actually wipe that off. I put it on the wrong side. You don't necessarily want it glued down to your flower because that'll make your flower look flatter. So I'm gonna just tuck that up under there, push it down a little bit. And then since I glued the wrong side, it's gonna stick a little bit, so I'm gonna lift my flower up. Then I'm gonna do the same thing on the back side of my leaf, give it a little glue, and then just tuck that up underneath as well. Press it down a little bit, lift your flower up. Now we can add our second layer here. It's a really quick card to go together, but I wanted to give you a look at how I can create that dimension onto just a flat paper flower. And then what I'm going to do is going to start with the largest one and work my way in and glue those. So I will speed the video up as I'm gluing this together. Take your time, allow for your pieces to dry, try not to squish, and I'm just rotating it just a bit so those fringes are in between each other so you get that real dimension. Now, once I have all my pieces glued in place, you want to let this dry really, really well. And then I'll come back and I'll show you, you kind of just scrunch up the center, but you don't want to do it while the glue is still wet. Otherwise, you'll move all your center pieces around. So once it is completely dry, let it dry all the way, and we'll then come in and scrunch it up and give it a little bit more 3D texture. Once it's fully dry, you can come in and you can fold up the edges and just ruffle those edges of the center piece up a little bit, create some dimension. And you have your card.
Thank you for joining me in this tutorial on giving your paper flowers a little bit of shape to add dimension and create a unique look. All paper flowers can vary and you can use a variety of techniques. This is just one possibility. For more tutorials, find me on YouTube or on my website at www.silhouette-secrets.com. Have a great day.